Smart 24, driving business.
Good morning, welcome to Smart Means Business. I'm Andrew Bariji with Masika team, and definitely today is the 5th of January. It's a Friday, and definitely it's quite a positive atmosphere when it comes to executing business. Well, of course, heading into today's discussions, and of course, centering around the CISPOC, which is the 27th meeting being held here in Kampala, but of course posing quite massive questions for Uganda, whether this could actually be an opportunity positioning the nation to influence regional integration. Masi, good morning. I don't know what you really perceive of this and what you've drawn from this particular conference.
Well, good morning, Andrew. Yes. Well, of course, when we talk about the CISPOC, of course, majorly what, I'll just rely on what they are going to be discussing, they're going to be discussing environment, climate change, and health of parliamentarians as well. But of course, you have to, that is their agenda. For now. But of course, when it comes to an individual, every person wants such conferences to be addressing their personal interest.
Exactly.
Yeah. So majorly, what I took from there, which I think is going to be a great deal for us, is in terms of tourism. I believe, once you have delegates coming to your country and they see how beautiful the country is, definitely they're going to get interested. At the end of the day, we're going to be having investors coming into shape, motorists coming into place. So definitely, this could be a move for us, to grow this year compared to last year.
All right, that's absolutely true. And actually, that brings me to the aspect of, when you get to realize the part of the people that are the nations of this conference, we have even nations that are not part of the Commonwealth, but they're within the East African bloc. I talk about Burundi, South Sudan, which were all invited. And of course, to me, that brings still back another question of the deepening of the region, because we are seeing quite a number of countries that are coming up to join the region, as Djibouti is in proposal, as Somalia, of course, already in, even Ethiopia, right there. And of course, that is increasing. A big question is that there is a rapid expansion, but we are widening, but are we deepening, from this perspective? And I believe this could be part of the time for Uganda to influence that when it comes to determining the direction of what regional integration is meant, and of course the above picture of using the integration as a way to capitalize on exports, getting rid of surplus, because you get to understand that there are a little bit of trade restrictions in other related countries, considering what happened with AGOA. We are now no longer part of that. So that really speaks a lot, and most especially also when it comes to our trade with Britain, the United Kingdom. Also a little bit of haltations which are being experienced in there. And I believe this could be quite a key and a great opportunity for the country Uganda when it comes to regional integration, and the fact that we are chairing NAM, that means that when we speak on the international community, we can actually have a say. Gone are the days when we came and because nobody even recognizes Uganda when you go out there. Some may say, what is Uganda? But they could find it easier to understand Africa or East Africa. But this is a chance for Uganda to identify itself individually on the international scene.
Yeah, I think it's true, by the way, because now if you went like 10 years ago, of course Uganda was known, but not so known, compared to when you look at the East African bloc now, when it had started earlier, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. I think Kenya was, most known. Yeah, but now lately we see Tanzania is also coming into shape. People know a little bit of Tanzania, and of course now, because why? last year actually, you know, they had very many summits, they had very many forums that, you know, they had to usher in very many delegates. So definitely it was very eye-opener for everyone out there to know Tanzania, what they are capable of, you know. So definitely this could also be our year. As Tanzania was making headlines last year, we could also be making headlines, I think, from January with this CISPOC conference, and then the NAM and the G27 plus China. It's going to be, and of course, China, the second largest economy, definitely. If we have, you know, been halted from AGOA, at least we could tap into China. Yes, it could be a good opportunity for us.
And I loved what the president said in his speech yesterday, talking about powers that want to influence others in terms of ideology, and was actually telling you that if you think you're right, prove it by example. And I found that quite a very key, you know, when it comes to influencing, because from ideology to economic ideologies and so many more, before you know it, sanctions are being put out there simply because of a simple ideology from that perspective. But of course, still away from those matters, if we are to get back to the regional integration as a result of using this conference as an advantage, it now calls for a bigger aspect of having a customs unions policy, because that still brings us back to the challenge we are having when it comes to the trade barriers among the state. And the customs union policies don't seem to be a little bit effective when it comes to how we trade within the nations of the region vis-a-vis the nations that are outside the region, you know. And also the matters of mobility, the fact that I should be able to leave Uganda, go to DRC, and I'm not supposed to produce a work permit, but simply if I have my passport, I have my national identity, talking about aspects of a currency, a united currency, because with this we have power, because you see what is happening with Kenya currently. The Kenyan shilling is actually is experiencing a depreciation by 17% as of 2023, actually, which has actually doubled compared to 2022, which was 8.3. But now that shows you that if we have a unified currency, such depreciations cannot be really experienced, because it's been one of the biggest trading partners we've been having as a country, Uganda. But we see what is happening. That means the trade between we and Kenya is now halted, because now if Kenya is to import Ugandan products, they're going to be expensive. And definitely that means there is no way out. And Tanzania, which we think we could actually capitalize on come this financial 2024, it seems to be a little bit hardened in terms of cooperation from that perspective. So quite a lot of matters, and this is the chance, I feel, with such a gathering for Uganda to really pass out all these perspectives. Because remember, we are in the middle of all these countries. We are landlocked, but we are at the center of the region. So that creates a big advantage, because there is easy accessibility to Uganda, and same applies to Uganda's accessibility to these other nations, despite being landlocked, that we can see how we can survive on the market within these nations of the region, but using this conference as a big advantage. Yeah,
the NAM and these conferences.
These conferences, but most especially if we talk about the Commonwealth, because I believe all the East African nations are part of this. And we are chairing this. But away from looking at relations between us and the member states of the G77 and the NAM, how if we also first establish the regional market? Because with the regional market, if we come out as the pioneers, that means it can widen, and we can still come to these other members of the non-alignment movement as with a big talk and with a big product that we can actually trade with them, and with an established East African currency which can actually command value, and it can be exchanged even not only in East Africa but also in other countries. This is the picture I'm actually saying this from this perspective, as we can also use that as a chance to bolster the unification, because unity is part of the key discussions of this gathering. You know, unity, diplomacy, and of course, above all, making sure that the parliament serves the citizens in its context as designed, as we benchmark from some of these other nations their way. Well, it's exactly 15 minutes past 7. And of course, at this point in time, let's get into what is really making headlines into the press. And Masika Tumi is going to be taking us through that. Is the Daily Monitor. And of course, seeing here Museveni rallies speakers, that is on unity. And seeing here the summit as Kampala gears up for the now meeting, definitely, despite what is the CISPOC that is happening. And somebody here tells you that harvest money, seeing the top crops to bank on come 2024, so you can find that out. And of course, you seeing here Uganda's beauty charms ghetto kids from that perspective. What do we have in the Daily Monitor?
Well, of course, in the Daily Monitor, we have government has unveiled official NAM program. So those that have been awaiting what is going to be happening in the NAM, you can grab yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor, and you'll be able to see how it's going to be running. And of course, still headlines here of the CISPOC. As Museveni was, opening up the conference, and of course he had some key points that he said, and he emphasized here, saying, "Do not force your ways on us," telling people from the West. Well, interesting conversations. If you had time and listened in, actually, he made quite key points right there. He's known as an ideologist, so definitely we believe he had some impact in that grand opening of this book that happened yesterday.
Absolutely. And of course, taking a look here as Kampala battles with anticipation ahead of the NAM and G77 plus China. And of course, seeing Sun News here, renowned Arthur Winfred Rukidi dead. And now we see Bujingo attack footage retrieved. Get the sofa copy. You'll find that out. And Museveni urges Commonwealth countries to fight for common interests. Yes, common interests. That's what we've been actually discussing about that. And of course, coming in down to First Lady Mons Atleti Chiplangat. Of course, the two arrested as a result, and the burial date is scheduled.
Well, it was quite an absurd moment, actually, losing one of the athletes. And may her soul rest in peace. And of course, here, anthrax threats. Chotera farmers leaders clash over animal burials. And of course, here in the comment section, financial lessons for young adults from a rich villager you cannot ignore. Well, yes, that if you get yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor, interesting. And of course, babies home in Lilla struggles for food for children. And of course, AU appeals for calm in Ethiopia's Somalia war. So that is what is happening in around the world. And of course, hundreds cut off after Japan earthquake that killed 78 people. Well, of course, you must be aware that away from what is happening, with the climate change and all that, most of the Asian countries, I think most of them have experienced such earthquakes, tsunamis and all that.
Absolutely.
So definitely that is what is happening in Japan right about now. 78 confirmed to have died in this earthquake.
Okay, now here government launches 15 billion Uganda shillings water environment information system. And of course, seeing here former LRA returnees to get 380 million Ugandan shillings startup capital. And now government restores hope for residents over Port-Hold Oil Road. There's definitely all these details up in the new vision for you. And of course, seeing here PS Sali asks court to quash members of parliament report on about 5 billion Ugandan shillings expenditure. And of course, this was a witch hunt intended, that is to taint, actually she says here that this was a witch hunt intended to taint my reputation, yet I was bringing concerns relating to the actual loss of taxpayers' money. So you find out that is Sally making that. And of course, in the comment section, saying dairy industry should be lauded, but what? Of course, when you grab yourself a copy, you'll find out that in the comment section. And of course, somebody here says, why opposition party leaders see leader of opposition as rivals? Yeah, so you can find that out. And still Israel at the International Court of Justice, which is a test for the United Nations, its institutions. And further here to see, still in the comment section, I can see Ministry of Lands needs to embrace digitalization and ensuring traceability of landowners in Uganda. And of course, digital addresses offer more reliable means of pinpointing locations compared to traditional postal addresses. Of course, following, I think it was on Monday when the Ministry of Lands really put it out clear about all plot owners, all land owners need to have postal addresses. So all this is in development, and how is it going to be received by the Ugandan community and the different different perspectives altogether? Is it going to be welcomed? Is it okay either way of having a postal address on the land?
Well, of course, here Ugandan shilling weakened by less than 1%. The depreciation pressures emerged in the last quarter of 2023 last year as a result of the World Bank's financing freeze in Uganda as a result of the Anti-Homosexuality Act of 2023. And of course, during the annual meeting of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, IMF in Marrakech, that was in October, actually. I think we shall be giving you more of this report, about the depreciation of our shilling after
the traffic report at this particular time. And of course, those we're heading down straight to Tindabukoto Road. Those are the images that you observe on your screen right there, getting to observe the traffic atmosphere. But of course, like you can see in the morning hours, it's never really much of congested as compared to late in the hours in the evening. So you can see the vehicles coming in from the Tindabukoto route. Probably come Monday next week, it's when the real feel of before Christmas mood will be there, as people will embrace going back to work, and there will be congestion actually at all times, be it morning or be it evening. But of course, for now, it's quite free. So if you're coming in from Tinda side and those areas, you can actually clearly see that it's favorable for you actually. Remember, these are places that are both residential and at the same time commercial places. People leave other parts of town to head to these areas to open up their shops, to open up their businesses. Same applies to still people leaving these very areas, heading to other places in town to do work, as they use those places as residential areas. So you can see the Kira Road there junction next to the police station. It is still a free lane for those heading to town, and those coming in from town, of course, linking up through the Kamocha side. You can even choose to branch off via Acacia Mall and continue up to when you get to towards the golf course. So it's all still free for you. So you decide where you find it appropriate. So it's free. Even you can see opposite to that adjacent, it's still not congested. So it will take you just about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, yes, for you to head to your different destination. And of course, in case you're held back, it will be just in a few minutes, not even more than 2 minutes, because the traffic officers are not in control of the vehicles at this particular point in time. It's entirely the traffic lights in control. As you can clearly see, now the picture comes in of the people willing to obey these lights when it comes to determining direction, testing their patience in all aspects of life. So that is what it is like. Unlike on other days when the congestion gets a little bit much more, and there has to be the involvement of the traffic personnel, this time around there is not really any. So you can see quite a number of public and private vehicles, but of course in these particular areas there are quite lots of people that own their own vehicles, so they are more private vehicles as compared to the public. Now we take a look at the route adjacent, the Lugogo bypass rather. Of course, along it there are quite a number of streets, Bogoto Street inclusive. Yes, in case you're making a turn back there, you can pass through there, head to, it will link you to Acacia Mall, Kanjicha Street side, and before you know it, you are around Kololo and you're already in the city. Yeah, but it's also free. You're probably coming in from this side and you're heading to Bugolobi. You could just pass by the Lugogo bypass and continue that way. You link up to to where former ShopRite was, and you will be able to proceed rather effectively to other destinations. So the situation is quite calm and not really tight. So if you're home and you're in any of these places and you're planning to leave and head home, and head to work, well, this is quite the right time for you. And well, that brings us to the end of our traffic report this particular morning, and it's exactly 26 minutes past 7. Smart Means Business takes a break at this point, and we shall be returning with our Caribbean, East Africa, and international report. Stick around.